The things that I'm going to talk about are, on one hand, today and the next couple sessions, are on one hand, the most obvious, most simple, most straightforward stuff that you've known for years and years. But knowing and doing are two different things. And just because you know doesn't mean that the choir knows. And just because you know doesn't necessarily mean that the choir is doing it. Right? So in my years of doing this, the things I'm going to talk about are the things that matter most. It's the things that the greatest choirs in the world do, and the most beginner choir, whether that's children of 8-year-olds, or a church choir of folks who are just starting out, or it's often in my case, a church choir filled with people who've been singing for 35 years, but do none of these things. Right? How do we move a group towards artistry? Which is now my disclaimer. It is entirely possible to be in a choir for all the right reasons, to love everything about choir, and have no intention of getting any better. Right? It is off the table. And the analogy that I love to use is swimming. Right? Some people love the water. Right? They love to go to the beach and splash around the water. They love to get in the pool and splash around the water. They love to be in the pool with friends and splash water on their friends. Right? They throw around a beach ball, whatever it is. You get them in a pool. They're happy, happy, happy. They have no intention of being on the U.S. Olympic team. Right? And they wouldn't be interested in going to a lecture to get first steps about how you can be good enough to be on the Olympic team. That's not why they get in the pool. Right? So I want to acknowledge the fact that if you have a choir filled with non-Olympic candidates, right, and you're fine with that, and they're fine with that, right, it's just a bunch of people who get together to sing through stuff at the same time, and love on each other, and laugh, and have fun, and enjoy singing, and then go home, right, that's great. I think it's honorable, I think it's noble, I think it's tremendous. It's not been my life, and it's not what we're about to talk about. Okay? Right? But if you kind of start to feel annoyed at me, like, why is he complaining about these things? I don't care. We're fine. Good. We talked about the singer's point of view this morning. Now, the conductor's point of view. To be more honest, my point of view. Phrasing is first today. We'll talk about other things in the next session and the sessions tomorrow. I'm Eric Nelson. I'm the artistic director of Atlanta Master Chorale. We have a big presence on YouTube. If you've never heard of us, you will enjoy going to YouTube and perusing all the things we have offered there. The world has moved away from, LPs, I don't have to remember LPs, and even CDs now. New cars are being made without a CD slot anymore. People just do it. It's all streaming all the time. One of my favorite YouTube channels that I follow is a group in the Netherlands called the Netherlands Bach Society, and they're over the period of multiple years recording all of Bach's work. It's actually the theme of the YouTube channel is called All of Bach. I think they're fantastic. They're not perfect, but it's something to disagree with. For the most part, they're just spectacular. But they are not releasing the recordings they're making on CD. Right? They're only posting to YouTube. That's it. So that's kind of Atlanta Master Chorale. Like, I hang my hat at Emory University, where I've been a professor of music and director of choral studies there for quite a while. I have about 40 plus years of church music experience, though I'm not currently in a parish. I retired, resigned from my church position just before COVID. That guy over there is still me. He's got a lot more hair and just looks more relaxed than me. For those that weren't here this morning, I was diagnosed about 13 months ago with an aggressive form of lymphoma. Was given a 20% chance to survival at that moment. Are we allowed to ask our choirs to improve? That's a loaded word. I'm not saying, are we allowed to fix things in rehearsal? That's a different matter. Right? There's wrong notes, we're going to fix them. There's wrong rhythms, we're going to fix them. There's a consonant we can't hear, so we're going to ask them to do it louder. That's fixing stuff. We're going to do that. Right? But can we ask our choirs to improve so they're better a month later than they used to be? Certainly better a year later than they used to be. They're markedly better 3 years later than they used to be. Right? If you had a student in a school situation that you taught for 4 years, say you're a college director and somebody comes in freshman year, right? And they're in your top choir and you teach them for 4 years. Wouldn't you expect them to improve? How many years are people in our church? Improve what? Improve how? We'll start to explore these questions by looking at the conductor's role in teaching and shaping, specifically, phrasing. When I took over the choir at Second Constable Leon Baptist Church in Atlanta, Georgia, I didn't start with the job. I started doing a favor for a friend who was leaving the job and agreed to get them from Christmas to Easter. Right? Can you just, I've had it, I'm leaving. It's going to take a while to find a replacement. Would you come in, please, friend, and just get them through a couple of months? They're nice people, it'll be fun. Sure, I can do that. Susan, can I do that? Yes, honey, you can. Okay, fine. So, do a Wednesday rehearsal, first Wednesday, one rehearsal. Right, my first rehearsal with the group. Lovely group, a nice night. That Sunday morning, we sing whatever it was that was scheduled. I didn't pick it. It was the anthem that morning. And we sang. This is the most arrogant thing that I will say this weekend, and the most arrogant thing you'll probably ever hear me say, but there's a reason why I'm going. We sang the anthem that day. I didn't know anybody in the church, and I just met the choir on that Wednesday. One rehearsal. After the postlude, man of a certain age comes up, Southern gentleman type of bearing, shakes my hand, looks me in the eye, and says, I've been in this church for 35 years. I've never heard the choir sound back. Now, my point here is not, ain't I great? My point is, what could I possibly have done in one rehearsal to get that kind of reaction? Right? It's silly. That's right. I didn't have time to build and improve anything. All I did was get them to phrase. It is the biggest bang for the buck you can get. Right? Diction's important. I'm going to talk about it. Intonation and tuning is important. I'm going to talk about it. But phrasing, anybody can do. Right? You can get 8-year-olds to phrase like $1 million. Right? They don't though. Phrasing is the term we apply to how a musical line rises and falls. As we sing, we're getting louder, softer, or staying the same. Yeah? A skilled chorister, this has a little bit of teeth in it. A skilled chorister is always doing one of these things and doing it intentionally and on purpose. Right? They know they're getting louder. They know they're getting softer. They're doing it on purpose for a reason. Right? Not just accidentally because music should always be going somewhere. Towards something or away from something. Music notation, this is one of my analogies. Music notation communication is to choirs, what a script is to an actor. Any literate person can read, but not everyone who can read can communicate the words that they are reading like a great actor. Right? You know what I mean by this? Right? Same words, but very different impact. There's even a difference between a great actor and a not great actor. Right? Maybe even a not great actor that's on TV. Right? Singing the right notes and rhythms is the beginning of musical artistry, not the end. So once we've fixed all the notes and rhythms, rehearsal is not finished. Singing, we can have our choirs people are able to sing the right notes and the right rhythms and the right words, right? And that takes them as far as a literate person reading words on a page, right? To be or not to be, that is the question. Whether 'tis nobler in the minds of men to suffer the slings and arrows of riches, fortune. Yeah, those are the right words, right? But it's not going to get me on the right. Similarly, we can sing all the notes and all the right rhythms, and there's just no music in it. And I just desperately want this session to make you realize, once you've accomplished that, all the notes are right, all the rhythms are right, it's not going to fall apart. It's going to be great, right? We're not done. We've just read the right words. We're just getting started. We have choices to make now. Sometimes the composer puts crescendos, diminuendos, or other phrasing indications in the score to help us, but not always. I compose a little bit on the side, and I have a terrible time at that point of deciding what dynamics and phrase marks to put in the music. It all seems so self-evident to me. It's really hard for me to put hairpins in. It's like anybody's going to do a hairpin there. Why would I put that in there? It's really hard for me. And is it mental piano or is it mental forte? I don't know. No. Randall Thompson. If you ever do any Randall Thompson music, I think he puts more notation of crescendos, diminuendos, and dynamics for square inch than any other composer right now. This helps us, it guides us, but they don't always put it in, and sometimes it doesn't help as much as they hope. Conductors should teach their choirs to phrase well, as a default. Not only when they are told to do so by the composer or the director. Good phrasing should not be a special effect or a rare delight. So, what makes good phrasing? Or conversely, how can we avoid bad phrasing? I can't be the only one in this room who's ever heard bad phrasing. Right? You know it exists. It's helpful to think about the parts of a phrase. I'm not saying you necessarily have to teach these things overtly to the choir, but it's helpful to think of it this way and helps observe what the choir is doing by knowing these next couple of things. In our case, since we are nearly always singing words, the parts of a phrase also correspond to the parts of speech. Nearly always. In choral music, language and musicianship are inseparable. First part of a phrase I'm going to mention is the pickup note or the pickup word. Not all phrases have a pickup note. One example is, "O come all ye faithful." O is the pickup, yeah? "O come all ye faithful." Amazing Grace has a pickup. Amazing Grace. Can you think of any more? The church is one foundation. Oh, say, can you see? Some have more than one word. Come thou fount of, right? Both words of pickups. Right? The exception would be hark, I hear the harps eternal. Hark, I hear, technically a pickup, but I'm not going to sing that gently. But most of them, come thou fount of, right? Most of the pickups are a little bit more gentle before you arrive at the next place. The arrival is where we're headed. Destination notes, destination words. There may be several of these destinations within each phrase. They are often, but not always, on the strong beats in a measure. Come thou fount would be one of them. Come thou fount, fount is an arrival. Come thou fount of every blessing, tune my heart to sing thy praise. Keeps going, streams of mercy, right? So the phrasing has been taken care of by good composing, right? And that's often the case, but not always. It's actually one of the things when I'm playing through a brand new piece of music that in the box that I got in the mail, I still do that. I know it's all online, but I just like sitting down and playing through it. And I'll kind of like the introduction, and I'll look at the text. It's very nice text, okay? I'll play through the first verse. Not bad, it's got potential. Then I'll get to the second verse, and the high note will be on the word the on a down. Right? So there's just, I'm just cruel, but good composers will help. The phrasing's kind of almost built into the DNA of the piece. But not always. In choral music, these arrival notes nearly always follow the most important words in the text. Therefore, following the basic rules of grammar lead us fundamentally to good phrasing. We all good? Let's go. Now, when did it were that easy? Then there is an unaccented, ebbing, tapering, falling away note or word or syllable. Often, the last note in a phrase will taper or diminuendo. Right, over and over and over again. Music kind of gathers speed, goes to the arrival, maybe a couple of arrivals. Next level of phrasing I'm not going to get to is there's 4 arrival notes, which is the more important of the 4 arrival notes, because that you're going to go to that one most especially, right? And then at the end it's going to kind of pull away. I do a really, really, really simple, really, really basic scalar warm up. You're not going to like this, but I do it for a purpose. On E, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and it's E. And I've got a pianist to play ding, 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 record, so I have to kind of keep it going. And sometimes we do it a cappella, and sometimes he'll add passing chords, which is fun. Anyway, can we do that? It's not just mindless up and down to get the voice working. It's intentional. If they do that and it's weak, I can call them on tone quality, right? If it's a little bit out of tune, I can call them on that, right? But mostly I call them on the fact that they will begin singing until I explain to them, well, we're going to head to this one, and then we're going to pull away a little bit at the end. It's all going to be legato. And it begins to bake into the DNA. This is the way music goes. Good music. My warm-ups, by the way, as I've gotten older and older and older, I've gotten simpler and simpler and simpler. Usually, in a multisyllabic word, one of the syllables will be stronger, and the others slightly less so. Yeah? Note how the single word diminuendo has a built-in phrase. Diminu is the pickup, or the travel. N is the arrival, and do is the tapering away we add at the end of the phrase, right? Diminuendo. And every one of us, and every one of our choir members, if you ask them to read that word, would say diminuendo, right? It's just, there's no thought needed. But the most common flaw would be to pronounce or sing each of those 5 syllables at the same volume, diminuendo, right? Or, worse yet, and this happens at least as often in music, to stress a syllable other than N. Diminuendo. Diminuendo. Right? One of the points I will make a couple times in my next couple of sessions is when we do that, when we sing diminuendo in the anthem that we are singing, our audience in the congregation will at a certain point stop listening because it's just too confusing. Right? They have no idea what these words are. They'll look at the bulletin, didn't get printed there, and they'll wait for it to be over because they love it. And it might be pretty. Right? They'll say something nice to you. I just love watching you sing. Things matter in the end. There's something that happens. Maybe someone in this room has this figured out. I have never read a dissertation explaining this, nor a psychologist who looks at music and the brain. All I can tell you is that I've seen this over and over and over and over and over again in my career. There is something that happens when notes get added to text. Somehow, our singers throw out nearly everything they know about how to pronounce language, and they simply sing one syllable at a time, one note at a time, like a child learning to play the violin, playing Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. Right? You've all seen this, right? Right? We've all seen that, and it's adorable. If it's a YouTube thing, we'll click on it 3 times. Right? If it's our granddaughter or a niece or a nephew, we just think that they're going to be the next Josh. It's just right. This is genius. I get this every Christmas time. We do a couple of pieces of lessons and carols at Emory. People don't. The choir at Emory is fantastic, but Atlanta doesn't care. So I don't get huge audiences in my choir concerts, even though they're really, really good. The exception to that is Christmas. About 4,000 people come to my Christmas concert in 3 concerts. What are the 3 concerts? Nearly so, 3,000 people. We did the first Noel, what's his name? One guy that choir. Mac Wilbur setting first Noel every year. And every year, the first verse is tenors and basses in unison. And every year I conduct this, and I watch the faces of the sopranos and altos as they gradually start to do. Because it's the same every year. The first Noel, the angel did say, was to certain poor shepherds in fields as they lay. No, these are. I've got a mix of students at Emory and faculty and community members. These are people that have won Nobel Prizes, right? Right, and Rhodes Scholars. These are brilliant people. These people are so much smarter than I could ever imagine being, and that's how they sing the first Noel. I don't understand how it happens, and then I'm a really good teacher, so I explain to them that that's not going to happen on my watch, and they start to sing more legato, and then it's all legato at the same volume. Then I explain that some words are more important than another, and then they go to, and then they bring out those words, and then I'll explain that there's some be hitting those too. And okay, and then all of a sudden it starts to be lovely. And sopranos and altos look at each other and go, well, that took a while. Really nice, but I don't understand why they say they sing in fields as they lay or where they lay? Shepherds in the fields as they lay, or where they lay. Why they would sing it that way? But if you ask the same person, where did you put your cell phone? They wouldn't say on the table, right? It's on the table, right? Over, right? You with me? Yes. This takes us back to the rhetorical question. Are we allowed to ask our choirs to improve? Or do you hear this and just shrug your shoulders? Oh, well, some people do good choirs, I got this. Lord works in mysterious ways. There's also linking notes. I hinted at this, but it's a little different. Linking notes in words, connecting notes, travel notes, things that connect the important words, right? All phrases have notes that are leading to other notes. These notes are not the destination. There's that moment in John 1, they're talking about St. John the Baptist coming to prepare the way, and there's that moment where the scripture says, he was not that light, but came to bear witness to the light. It's an important moment for me. I always love that phrase when I take too much responsibility of myself. Remember, I'm not the light, I'm just bearing witness to the light. But these notes are not the destination, but they're on their way to the next point of arrival. These linking notes must not receive the same emphasis as the destination notes. Words like the, of, and, with, from, in, for, basically all the conjunctions and prepositions, are nearly always linking notes. At the risk of being incredibly annoying, allow me to read this sentence I'm reading right now, intentionally ignoring the principles of pickup notes, arrival notes, and linking notes. At the risk of being incredibly annoying, allow me to read this sentence, intentionally ignoring the principles of pickup notes, arrival notes, and linking notes. Even though you're reading it, if you were hearing this and you didn't know what I was saying, you would have given up about halfway through. Right? You can't follow it. It's very interesting how our understanding of language is based on cadence. Why? I'll go back and read it correctly. You'll see that at the is the pickup. At the risk of is a linking. At the risk of being in are all linkings. At the risk of being incredibly annoying, loud, send. We do it all the time in all things. One cause for this error, another cause for this error, is our tendency to sing higher notes more loudly than notes that are lower in the range. Makes sense, right? We have to work against this. If the higher pitch is on an unaccented syllable, the result can be unfortunate. One where this happens a lot is the hymn we sang earlier in the worship service. Praise to the Lord. Right? It was originally German. Even then. So that's a problem. Or the tenor line, if you happen to know it, in break forth, O it is heavenly light. There's a line, this child now in infancy. And I find that word is really hard for the choir to sing because it's a 3-syllable word, and the first syllable is not a little pickup, right? The first syllable is the arrival point, and then the succeeding syllables are both F's. It's infancy. And it's just really hard, even for the sopranos who are singing the tune. Child so weak in infancy. It's like, well, that sounds like 3 words. It's 1 word, right? And I just get to the point where I just tell them, do a diminuendo. Just think of it as, you're like, infancy. Right? But at that same moment, the tenor line is child so weak in infancy. been told for years by every director, right? You know, bring it, guys! They've had young sopranos and altos applaud when they say, we heard the tenors! So, again, intentionally then they learn to make in the loudest syllable phlegm a little softer, even though it's a higher note. You'll run into that all the time. I said this morning that the more you correct these fundamental things with singers that are paying attention, the more, not right away, but over time, they start to see it coming, right? They start to understand the rules of phrasing, and they start to do it on their own. And you very rarely have to remind them. Phrasing is just beautiful, right? I assume, I haven't been able to make many of them, but I assume most of the time in the reading sessions, right, when the room has read through something, it's been beautiful on first pass, because we all know the rules, right? But it takes a while. Someone taught us too. Easy to forget. Helpful hint, or another way to look at all of this, it gets to the same place, but maybe this will make more sense to you. Consider the principle of before or after. Does the linking word or syllable belong to the word or syllable that precedes it, or the one that comes after it? Sometimes when I get stuck and I'm not quite sure how to phrase it, this will solve it for me, making this decision. What do I mean by this? Think about, come thou fountain of every blessing, tune my heart to sing thy grace. Streams of mercy never ceasing, call for sounds of loudest praise. I'm going to go through this kind of word by word and ask you, does it belong to the word before it or the word after? Does thou come with come, or does it go to fount? If it's come, it would be come thou. If it goes to fount, it's come thou. That changes the phrase immediately, dramatic, right? Is it fount of, or is it of every? I think it's of every too, but that's not how the music goes. Come thou fount of every blessed, right? So you have to realize it's come thou fount of every blessed. Changes the piece is different. Someone will say to you, I've been in this church for 35 years. That's it. That's what does it. Suddenly the music is compelling and logical, right? It's not rocket science. It's not even mildly difficult. But it is, and I tell my choirs this when they do it really, really well, it is a level of choral virtuosity. Right? The greatest choirs in the world, right? The Latvian radio choir, tenor, Voces 8, right? These great ensembles that are all over YouTube. It's amazing to live in this world where the best choral performances being recorded across the globe with 2 clicks away, right? Bonus hint from me: if you don't listen to the best choirs in the world, you might want to start. It is soothing to the soul, and remember that all children and teenagers, when they aspire to be something, have posters on, right? If they want to be a ballet person, they probably have a ballerina poster. If they want to be a basketball player, there's probably a picture of whoever the leading basketball player is. I'm old, so I'm very, very. It's somebody else now. Michael Jordan's long gone. But you know what I mean? And if you aren't constantly listening to the best choirs in the world, even though your choir is nowhere close to that, it just helps. I would suggest, you have to be careful how you do this exactly, but if I would, in rehearsal from time to time, play a recording of the greatest choirs in the world. They don't have to be singing the same anthem you're working on, they probably aren't. But they will be blown away by what you consider to be the top of the food chain choral singer. It's probably not what they think you think it is. Right? Helps a lot. Also, one of the best, most popular choral ensembles, vocal ensembles right now in the world is Voces 8. Yes. There are 8 singers. If you've got 8 people or 11 or 13 in a church choir, and use that as an excuse for, well, listen to Voces 8. So we doing that, right? Streams of mercy, never ceasing. Call for songs of loudest praise. Teach me some melodious song, sung by flame. We'll talk about pictures another day. Sung by flaming tongues above. No choir, I'll talk about pictures in a couple days, but no choir member is going to put that V on by accident. Only the ones that know what their purpose in the world is. Let's try to apply these principles, if we might, to Amazing Grace. What's the May is the first arrival point. Zing is the first step away. Amazing. Now, I'm not saying you're going to go from pianissimo to fortissimo back to pianissimo, right? This is all very often very subtle, right? But it's not going to be amazing, right? Amazing grace, how sweet. Now we got to decide, do we breathe? Do we carry grace or breathe? I mentioned this morning, we never decided. I got a vote for carry.
You've got a comma there.
I do, and sometimes it's an exclamation point.
That would suggest you wouldn't carry.
So the comma would suggest you would carry?
Would not.
It would not carry. The exclamation point even more so. I agree with that, but I ignore it. Freely. But let's go with that. So let's say we're going to breathe after grace. Quarter or an eighth? Amazing grace, how sweet. Amazing grace, how sweet. Yeah, so eighth rest. We're going to agree with that? Why would when might I do a quarter? Well, because you won't count. Also, might be because
your people can't count.
no, they can count. They're CPAs, for goodness sake. If you're lucky enough to be in a place with a big echo, right? My main hall at Emory is to die for. It's just one of the most beautiful halls, maybe in the world, and it's just perfect to sing in. But it's got a nice reverse. So sometimes I'll clear things off a little earlier, just because I want to make sure that the end of this phrase isn't overlapping in this one and miss it. And I just don't want to maybe miss it. Right. How loud is the C of Amazing Grace? How loud is the C of grace? It's part of the ebb, so it's not very loud. I'm talking about diction the other day. Right? But the next step after beginning to teach these things, you get people who are with you. And you get Amazing Grace. How? Thank you, but no. You got a problem if you're going to make this an eighth rest. We're going to talk about diction another day, but still, you got a problem if you're going to make that an eighth rest after grace because you've got to pronounce the H. And you have to pronounce the H aspirated before the O. Amazing grace, how sweet. You can do that, but if you're going to put on the H, if you put on a gentle C, take a breath, come back into an H. It's tricky, right? How sweet the sound. Carry your breath.
Yes,
Carry the sound. Carry with a diminuendo. Carry steady, or carry with a crescendo. How sweet the sound. Let's say, oh, that's all. How sweet the sound. Let's say, oh, that's lovely. How sweet the sound. Oh, that's lovely. Right? Choices, good musical choices are rarely like an actor. Right? We've all heard behind the scenes actor conversations. Well, they'll say, they did this take 8 times and they gave the director director decide which one they want in the final cut. Right? So they'll just do it a little different this time. So, right. I spent hours and hours and hours making these decisions before the first person. Right. Sometimes they will change my mind. Yes. I'm planning to do a crescendo, and at that moment, if I don't show them or whatever, they'll do a little bit of diminuendo, or maybe a little bit of breathe together, and I'll think, oh, that's all. I won't mention it. Right? I'll just grab my pen. What I never want to happen, what I encourage you, is if somebody says, Eric, yes. Do you want us to carry after Sam? I want to be able to say, yeah. I don't want to go, where? Oh. You don't want to get caught with your proverbial musical pants. It happens, but once a year. Let's make the sound. Let's say, we're going to retro meeting. Depends, yeah. How badly do you want people to feel? Yeah. Well, I mentioned this morning when we went towards here that it also depends a little bit on what the sermon is going to be. Right? Is it about the depravity of man, about wretchedness and our need for redemption? Then we might want to land on wretch. Right? If it's about, God knows that every hair on your head is numbered. Right? He takes care of the sparrow, he takes care of you. Right? Then you might want to land on me to help emphasize what you want to talk about. I'm going to pick me. Say, so it's my gesture. I'm waiting. Say, all right. They don't need me for the beat. They don't need me for that. They know what the beat is. I'm getting the beat, but I'm not worried about them finding the beat. It's there. Say, all right, like now. Go now. Me, and there's probably a diminuendo, maybe. Like me. Probably. That's in my gesture. Right? Sun's going to crescendo. When we've been there 10,000 years, bright shining as the sun. Right? Like me, and then we talked about this morning. Is it before and after? Is it I once was lost, but now I'm found? Or is it I once was lost, but now I'm found? Is it was blind, but now I see? Or is it was blind, but now I see? Neither of those is wrong. None of those is wrong. Where it starts to be unfortunate is you can say, I don't want to choose. I think all of those words are important. You're right. But listen to what happens. I once was lost, but now am found. Was blind, but now I see. As a result of landing on every one of them, the net result of that is that you can hear any of them. Right? And that's probably how your choir is going to sing it the first time. Right? They're not wrong, but all those words are important. But by deciding which one you're heading for, it changes the phrasing, and therefore changes the meaning. Also, by stopping, right, and explaining why you stopped, right? That was beautiful singing. But the scripture passage this week is going to be blah, 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 blah. Right? And so I think it would be lovely if we went towards this word. Right? And then everybody goes, okay. Right? And they learn something about phrasing accidentally, but mostly they are now intentionally and on purpose phrasing towards that word. Right? And that is great. I used to teach conducting students we used to have a graduate department, at Emory in music, we don't anymore, it's fine. I'm not bitter, it's fine. It'll be fine. But one of the things I used to say to the young students that were learning and experimenting and growing about running their own rehearsals and when to stop and how to stop and what to say when to stop and all that stuff, which you only learn by doing. One of the things I used to say was to imagine when you are in a rehearsal that the wisest, most experienced musician that you know of is sitting right there in a chair in the corner of the room, right? And they just happen to be in town and they're observing your rehearsal. And every time you stop and make a suggestion, and the choir begins to sing again, that wise person, you see that wise person go. Right? You stop again, say something, start again, corner of your eye you see. And if you don't, we say in your imagination, if you stop and you start again and you get, if it made no difference, no perceivable difference, then why did you stop? They like singing. Right? It has to be worth it. Right? It has to be important, at least to you. And I think it has to be audible. Right? I think. If I might have your permission, because a lot of you don't know my work at all, I would like your permission to play you an Atlanta Master Chorale performance that I think exhibits some lovely phrasing. And it's probably on an anthem you know. Probably. See if I can make this work. Always a question. Stop blinking. Got it? Stop blinking. Wait. If you don't know this and you're hearing it for the first time, you're welcome. This is Elaine Hackenberg's O Love. Her original tune of O Love That Will Not Let Me Go. You hear that okay? that was. Also, he was dealing usually with a 200 voice choir kind of or a piece orchestra, but all of them can hear each other. You have to line everything up somehow. But I find that if you count sing that, it's actually going to get in the way of the organicness, especially if you've got good musicians in front of you, you know what the Beatles do. That's me, I'm a little rebellious.
Especially living in the West.
Yeah. Do you see why I brought this up? You see how it is simultaneously the most obvious thing in the world you've known since you were 11, right? And yet, if we actually do it, it just brings us closer to heaven, right? And our choirs, for reasons I can't understand, often don't do it, right? And I just encourage you to gently, little over little, explain how and why, and this is one of those things. You can have a choir of a certain age. You can have a choir with horribly out of balance. Right? You can have a lot of things that aren't ideal, and they can still phrase exactly right. It's not dependent on 8 years of voice lessons. Right? Any other last questions before you get a break and then I retool and we do the next one in an hour? Yeah. One more in an hour.
So, do you ever have your singers read the poem before you sort of get to the notation?
Rarely.
Yeah, me rarely too, but I wonder if
Yeah.
that's helpful.
I always do though.
Yes.
It's part of the reason I picked the piece. That was this poem. I very often, especially in church choir, will bring out words that mean a lot to me, phrases that mean a lot to me. And I do that a lot at school, even though we're from very different faith traditions. There's just things that are they're just moving. It's just beautiful poetry, whether it's sacred or not. We did the Jake Root stuff, Come to the Woods, the There is Rest. And one of the most spiritual pieces I've ever sung. It's just a John Muir text about descending. Right? So there's depth in lots of places. I have colleagues who will make an assignment out of it and have the choir